So, hello everyone. Welcome to the Furry Valley Podcast. Before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone that you can leave any questions that you have for us tonight in the podcast text channel located right above this voice chat. Any discussion can take place in the speaking voice channel right below that. We'll try to address as many of these questions as we can at the end of the show, and I'd also like to remind you to turn off your microphones out of courtesy of those around you. As always, I'm your host, Nova the Based Skunk, and I'm here with leader of Furry Valley and certified work shark Simba. How you doing tonight?
I'm exhausted. I've got to say, I like your introduction. Each time you seem more and more like one of those airline stewardesses introducing the flight. I love it.
Oh, instead of turn off your phones, it's turn off your mics.
Yeah. If you look behind you to the nearest exit doors and a life jacket under your seats, escape the furry degeneracy.
What can I say? I get more excited every week. So our guests tonight are two of Furry Valley's valued members. We have Ross and Ry here tonight with us. Ross, Ry, thanks for joining us. How are y'all doing?
I'm pretty good.
I'm decent. Should probably stop playing Minecraft though, so I'm gonna.
You know what?
Yeah,
I
here
would
we
really
go.
appreciate that.
You're good. Okay, I'm all yours.
Wonderful. So how about you give us a little background on yourselves and your personas? Ry, you've done this 3 times already, so why don't you start, Ross?
Well, I'm a raccoon extraordinaire. It's your boy. There's not really too much to say. Just do a lot of raccoon things. Steal your glasses. All that.
The important thing, steal your glasses, root through your trash.
Yes, of course.
And how about you, Ry? Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm Ry. I'm very small and I like ice cream a lot. And yeah, that's it. I change my description every week, but it gets like less and less every week.
Well, we get to learn one little thing about you each week. That's something.
I'm a fatty.
No, too English to be a fatty.
I'm obese.
So again, thanks to both of y'all for joining us. Our topic tonight is an awesome one. We have try everything, finding your confidence. So Ry, what does confidence mean to you?
I think it's how much you value yourself as a whole. Like, you know, if you're confident, you're able to express yourself more and be yourself more. That's kind of how I see confidence.
It's fair enough. What about you, Ross? How do you define confidence?
My pal basically summed it up, but I think it's like the ability to be able to do things without being like scared of the outcome. That's basically all I can add to that.
And that's a pretty good definition.
Yeah.
I think that confidence is just belief in the success of something. What Ry described in between his typing is more sort of self-esteem, and what Ross described is more self-confidence. But you can be confident in the outcome of something, which means you just believe something will happen. Be confident that your horse is going to win at the races. If you're lucky, you might be right.
Well, I see
But it's,
I see self-confidence, confidence, and self-esteem are all linked. They all have that confidence value in them.
Self-esteem helps lead to self-confidence. So if you feel good about yourself as a person, you're more likely to believe that you will succeed at something, and that's self-confidence. So self-esteem leads to self-confidence, but they're not the same thing.
And I think that's fair. They are all related, yes, but I think confidence is a lot more broad. So if you're anything like me, not particularly confident, you've probably said at some point, yeah, I'm not comfortable doing X, Y, Z, but I'm comfortable, so what am I really missing out on? Ross, what kind of opportunities have been made available to you because of your confidence?
Well, recently I've been able to kind of be less shy with myself. Like, I don't know if many of you know this, but I like to sing, and for the longest time I've been scared of doing that around other people, and now I'm like doing it when people are in my house, when I'm not home alone. I'm starting to do it in Discord channels, just expressing myself. Feels real nice.
I'm glad to hear that. What about you, Ry? What sort of opportunities have been made available to you?
Well, I mean, this is a shameless plug, but Furry Valley itself is, because, you know, from the start I've enjoyed this community, but because of my confidence I've been able to delve further into, you know, working closely with my friends and now, I'm like quite, I'm a admin within FV. My confidence has helped me achieve, lots of stuff. I've managed to pick up the streaming team. I've been able to lead a team quite confidently, and guiding them along the way, teaching them stuff. It's good. It's confidence opens a lot of doors for everyone.
And is that something you could have imagined yourself doing, a year ago?
Oh God, no.
Now, from my experience, I can say that furries as a group tend not to be the most confident of folk. Biggest obstacle for most people trying to find their confidence.
Wait, was that at me?
Yes.
Oh, you cut out for me. Could you repeat?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. So from my own experience, I can say that I've seen that furries as a group tend not to be the most confident of folk. So, Ry, what do you think is the biggest obstacle for these people trying to find their confidence?
I think the biggest issue, like with furries and confidence, is the stigma around the furry community. We're quite often, like ridiculed for liking what we like, and we're kind of forced into the corner. We have, lots of us have surroundings where we have to keep our furry identities quite, low key, hidden. And I think that as a whole impacts our confidence a lot, because how can you be confident when you can't be yourself?
Well, I think a lot of people end up in the furry fandom because they've experienced a lot of rejection elsewhere, and so that will over time have a negative effect on your self-confidence. And so I think it's quite natural that from people's history, before they can become furries, they already have those problems. In many cases, not all.
So a quick aside before I get Ross's input. When you take a community of people who tend to join because they are not particularly confident, because they've been rejected from greater social circles, do you think that the furry fandom is conducive to increasing their confidence, or is it more disadvantageous to put a whole bunch of non-confident people next to each other?
Can go both ways. I think that you tend to become the average of the sort of 5 or so people closest to you. And so if all of your friends are massively introverted, people who completely lack confidence, you're probably going to end up mirroring that. But I think on the flip side, because you're around people who are perhaps as socially inept as you may be, and you might not have the confidence in a group of normal people to deal with that, if you're around people who also struggle, you might find that actually you're the best of the group, and so that can help you in a strange sort of way.
I think especially when you're looking at greater furry communities, for someone looking to become confident, you should just ensure that you're surrounding yourself with the environment that reflects what you would like to be. So, I'm going to go back to you, Ross. So, if you're anything like me, again, one of the obstacles for your own confidence might be that fear of rejection or failure, putting your heart into something and finding that it just wasn't worth it. What do you say to people who try to encourage their own confidence and end up failing and now feel discouraged? What would you say to those people, Ross?
The way I look at it is, I see it kind of like college. A lot of people go into college with like a kind of major, and eventually they find out, hey, I don't like this. That's fine. You can always just study something else. And if you need to, if you really do like it and hate it, just go for it with a little. Go with it for a little while. And then maybe if it's not your thing, then it's not your thing.
I think that's a pretty fair lesson. Ry, do you agree?
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd say it's like if you have a door that's closed, you open it. If you fail with one thing, there's no pain in turning back, trying something else. If you failed with one thing, learn something new, try something new. Not everyone's gonna take your advice, not everyone's gonna agree with you. As long as you're kind of continuing to try what you want, that's good.
Well, confidence is all about believing in success, and success is simply the absence of failure. So if you can redefine failure to a point where, as long as you keep trying, you've not failed because you're still going, you still could succeed, then you'll find that your confidence becomes rather unshakable. Even if you don't succeed with one path, well, hey, look, go and try something different, and keep trying and keep trying. It's only when you stop trying that you failed.
And I think people are afraid of failure for a number of reasons. For a lot of people, it's reflective of their self-worth. But if you're someone like me who has traditionally and in the past cared way too much about what other people think, you might see that your failure is something for them to gossip about, joke about, making you a target for what you might see as your own mediocrity, or at least that's how I've seen it. But if I could give any advice on that note, I'd like you to imagine just how often you think about embarrassing things that you have seen other people do or heard other people say, and how much of your day do you actually dedicate to thinking of those things? And the answer is probably very little to not at all. People are fairly self-involved.
We do know Ry, though, so I think it's actually probably a quarter of my day I spend thinking about silly things he's done.
Hey,
we made it 15 whole minutes without bullying Ry.
15, that's a new record. Get the labs memes out, that'll distract us.
Honestly, I have a feeling every stream for the near future is just going to be dedicated to bullying me.
Only the near future? God, I'm disappointed.
Oh.
Yeah, I agree with what Noah was saying. People are rather self-absorbed, and also the chances are that most people you meet on just day to day, like while you're out in town or you're on transport or whatever, you're never going to see those people again. You know, you take a train to London or whatever from wherever you live, and the person next to you on the train, yeah, you might draw some shitty cat that you don't think looks very good, but the person next to you don't care. They're too busy thinking about, oh, what am I going to get for my food tonight? What am I going to tell my wife as to why I was out late last night? All these things that have more importance to them.
Are these personal experiences, Simba?
I can say my waifu is not happy with how late I've been staying out with you.
Wait, what?
Teehee.
I don't remember.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I don't remember this.
You don't need to. We've had too much cat to remember. It's
Wait,
okay.
Paco was there as well?
Of course, Paco's my waifu. I think it's better you don't know.
Alright, what do you say, Captain?
Captain Simba.
Captain
Right.
Simba.
Now, let's try to get away from the horse medication talk for a little bit. I'm sure there will be much more of that later.
Alrighty.
So we've discussed a little bit about what makes confidence, what makes someone confident. Ry, would you be comfortable discussing your own trial through confidence and how exactly you came to the point of confidence you've reached now?
Well, so, it was mostly, as of recent that I have been confident. Before I joined FV, I was, wallowing a lot. I didn't really have confidence. I just kind of pitied myself. I joined FV, nothing really changed as such. I was surrounded with negativity, it was bad. But once I removed that negativity from my life, I surrounded myself with positive influences, people such as, yourself, Simba, lots of really nice people. And because of that, I've been able to improve my, abilities, my self-confidence. So much stuff came from the people around me. It's like Simba's confidence rubs off on me.
Oh, I'm glad to rub off on you.
So I'm going to not justify that.
He's not going to rephrase that.
Ross, we discussed this a little personally. Would you be comfortable discussing your own story of finding your confidence?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I should give you the long version, because this podcast is going to go by like no one's business. But...
You have 30 seconds on the clock.
Oh, shit.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So I kind of grew up in a rough household. Parents divorced, all that. And when I was about 12, they found a cyst in my brain, and it was on my pituitary gland, and they thought it was going to be fatal because it was absorbing all the grow juice or whatever. And later on, they found out that it wasn't fatal, but they just wanted to keep an eye on it. And when I was little, I was short. Like, I was like 3'5", and basically I had to go through growth hormone treatment, which means I had to give myself an injection every day, somewhere in my body, and I was like deathly terrified of needles. So that was kind of hell for me. I did that for about 742 days or so, and halfway through I learned, like, this isn't so bad, I can do it. I just kind of got to pick myself up. I have to gain that confidence for myself. My friends were supporting me, so that was kind of helpful. And I guess, yeah, I got my confidence through all my friends and stuff, just being like, hey, you can do this. Don't worry about it.
Because of the growth hormones, he's now 10 foot tall.
Oh no, I'm still 5'4".
The perfect
Oh,
size for
small
a
boy.
raccoon.
10 foot tall, ripped muscles.
Small baby boy.
So I guess the lesson from both of y'all's stories is, once again, to surround yourself with the kind of change you'd like to see and to try to embody that change as well.
It sounds like they've also grown a lot from resilience. You both experienced negativity, which hampered your confidence to begin with, but you persisted. And it sort of ties in with what I was saying earlier about you can still succeed as long as you don't give up. Because you've not failed until you give up, and that's reflected in both of your experiences.
If you have a good influence rubbing off on you, you're good.
I'm glad you enjoy it as much as I do.
Oh.
Oh my god.
Stop taking
And,
my words.
Why are you being twisting of my words? I'm just a good boy
Yes.
And pats for you.
who likes confidence, apparently.
Alrighty, so let's move to a more appropriate and definitely a cheery topic, mental illness in furries.
Ooh.
Now, there are plenty of reasons that the average person might struggle with their confidence, but we're furries, damn it, and we're anything but average. Jokes aside, there seems to be a greater rate of mental illness or otherwise neuroatypical behaviors or conditions in the fandom. What do you say to the furry that says, because of my disorder, or be it anxiety, depression, whatever, I can't be confident? Ross, what would you say to someone like that?
As someone with a mental disorder, I just say, fuck that. Nah. Don't let it rule your life. Even with issues, like the mental disorder I have is DPDR, Disrealization Depersonalization Syndrome.
Oof.
And, it just comes on as snap, 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 just whenever it wants. I don't let it rule my life. It happens. I accept it. You know what? I can be me and have that in my body still happening. So I don't see a problem.
I like that. Take your condition and just hold it by the gonads.
Indeed.
How about you, Ry? What would you say to someone that says that because of whatever condition they just can't be confident?
Well, myself, I have enough diagnosed mental illnesses to write a fucking autobiography. So it's definitely not the case. If you wean too much on these mental illnesses, if you let them control your life, you're not going to get anywhere. You need to seek out the support that helps you get around them, ways to kind of control them. At the end of the day, it's you. You need to control yourself. You can't let these mental health issues control you. It's you will have bad days. That's like guaranteed. But if you focus on the good days you have, you can gain more control for yourself. Just because you're a bit mentally ill or whatever, it doesn't mean you can't be confident. It doesn't mean you can't be yourself.
What Ry's saying there is really hitting the note. You're only in control of two things in your life. That's your thoughts and your actions. And if when I was younger, the professors they got me in a room with my parents and they said to me, look, he's never going to live alone, he's never going to go to university, never going to get a job, never going to be able to function in a relationship, all this shit. And I'm a stubborn bastard, so I just thought, fuck all of you, and then go and do it anyway. So you are control of your actions. Don't let some professor or some whoever the hell diagnoses you or whoever tells you can't do something. Don't listen to them. You're the only one who chooses what you do and you don't do. And if you want to do something, go and do it.
I'd say as well, like, some mental health issues can give people confidence. Like, I know myself, I have, like, Asperger's syndrome, and that has helped me a lot. It's a double-edged sword. If you can focus on the good side of it, you can use it to your advantage. I think Simba can agree with me on this.
Yeah, I mean, even more so, there's I can't think exactly what it's called, but it's something like narcissistic personality disorder, and it's people who literally believe they are basically God, and so of course they have tons of self-confidence. It's not always a kind of negative. It's mental illness doesn't always negatively impact your confidence. There are genuinely some people like that. It's a diagnosed condition.
Simba's one of them.
I am indeed one of them. Ry clearly has experienced enough of my personal attention rubbing off on him to notice that I've got that level of confidence.
Yeah,
So
I think I can confidently diagnose you now.
good. I'm glad. Well, there you go. Got all the confidence in the world.
Confidently, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. With good grammar.
Yeah, I mean, it's been improving.
Now, I think one thing that's important to mention, since we're on this topic of don't let your mental disorder define you, I think that's really relevant right now, especially with the growth of the internet, social media, the furry communities in general. It's become, I'm not going to say necessarily a fad, but I think that as we've become more comfortable talking about mental health, more people are finding themselves making their mental illness a part of their identity. Just go onto Twitter and see how many people are upfront about what their quote-unquote diagnoses are. Remember that your disorder does not make you. And I say this as someone with anxiety disorders, with depression, that just because it makes things difficult does not mean that it has to be any more a part of you than you allow it to. And yes, it takes effort. Yes, it takes an act, not just effort, but an active effort. You have to shut down thoughts that are not positive. You have to say, despite the fact that I don't feel comfortable doing this, I'm going to do it anyway. You can't let your disorders be a part of your identity.
I think it's important to allow them to be a part of your identity, but not to become your identity. We have a follower on Twitter, and his bio is something like autism-infused 14-year-old wolf pup, and it's like, you know, you're a person who just happens to have autism. Like, autism isn't the core of who you are. It's quite different to accept yourself as to sort of devalue forget the rest of you. It's quite similar to how you can sort of overstate your sexuality in a lot of ways now, and other people can do so. For example, game companies saying, oh yeah, we have a gay character, look at this, the lesbian character's making out with the other girl, oh look at that, and we're going to market that, when it's really they're just a person in a relationship and it just happens to be with another woman. And I think accepting and having it take over your identity are two different things. The first is healthy, the second much less so.
I was bitten by a vaccine, and now I am autism man.
Oh my god.
We have to make a comic of this.
Oh god.
Captain,
You
You can be the main character.
Oh hell yeah. You can be my son.
Something to... I think that's a level 5 design task.
Let me get Blaze on it, hold on.
Autism man.
Captain Autismo.
Oh, we had an admin called Autismo at one point, I kid you not. He was called Big Autismo.
Is it Gizmo's cousin? Oh, I knew it.
Gizmo would be offended. He was
Alright.
this guy was bad.
Gizmo and Autismo.
To give you an idea, a lot of you play RuneScape or old school RuneScape. This guy kept suffering from a reoccurring collapsed lung, and while he was on the floor waiting for the ambulance, he had his mouse, a wireless mouse in one hand,
No.
so click on RuneScape, yeah, on the fishing spot.
Oh no.
That is dedication.
Yeah, every time we were going to the hospital, yep, he'd be on the floor with his mouse.
His last thing he will ever do is get 99 fishing.
Yeah, it's like, what are you going to do? Die doing the thing you love, right?
What could I do? Could I notarize my last will and testament, or get that last bit of EXP? No XP waste in heaven, boyos.
Finally, I can
Yep.
catch stars.
Just persistent about the things he loves, even in death.
Yeah.
Isn't that what we all strive for? To find something that we are happy dying doing, like clicking on pixels for fish.
I'll have
Hell
most
yeah!
people multiple
Being
people.
a professional furry.
Imagine not 3-tick fishing, like degenerates.
I think we're getting too RuneScapey.
At least we have our topic for the next podcast.
RuneScape.
No, I'm not co-hosting that one. I've had enough.
Sorry, I'll just-
fire run.
I can do it
Okay.
solo and just ramble.
Yeah.
Alright.
You know me? I've never played RuneScape.
Good for you.
Yes,
Don't install.
Alright. I tried. I couldn't.
It's a 9-to-5 job, the game.
Mm.
You ever wonder what it's like to sit there for 8 hours and do nothing productive? Welcome to RuneScape.
Welcome
Yeah,
to
well,
Furry Valley.
I'm already unemployed, so.
Alrighty. So just one more question. This is about everything I had before we're going to move to the audience questions. We've heard what makes someone confident, the obstacles, confidence. What is it that made y'all confident in particular? So before we move to audience questions, if you could give any advice to someone who is struggling and wants to try to find their confidence, what's the one thing you would tell them? How about you, Ry?
I'd say the most important thing you can do is surround yourself with positive people who like you for you. If you isolate yourself, you surround yourself with negative influences, you will not grow as a person. You need those people that support you and want to help you develop.
Absolutely. And I think that's been a pretty persistent lesson through this podcast. How about you, Ross? If you could give one piece of advice for everyone listening tonight.
I'd just say do what you love, because if you like it that much, you'll get better and better at it, and you can start doing it, like, without being scared of other people thinking, whatever they want to think.
I agree. If there's something that you enjoy doing, then why would you ever let someone else tell you that you shouldn't?
Indeed.
Unless, it's major arson, in which case, yeah, probably don't do that.
Yeah,
Isn't that what you
and
do
when
before?
it comes to, like, other people, then even the case, in that case anyway, basically, there's a big chance that those people probably feel the same way about something that they have going on. Just like you feel the same about the thing that you're trying to do, I could have phrased that better, but
It's alright. I think we got the idea.
baby brain.
Resilience is very important too. I
Yes.
think the whole idea that you've not failed until you've given up. And most things in life, think about the things in life that are worth having. The reason they're worth having is because they're special. They wouldn't be special if everyone had them, and everyone would be quite likely to have them if they were effortless or easy to get. For the best things in life are quite difficult to attain. Something that's difficult to attain, you probably won't succeed on first time. So keep trying, don't give up.
For instance, look like Ben and Jerry's ice cream. That shit's like £5. You think I've got that much money?
That's a lot of money, isn't it?
Yeah.
Christ. Look at Brexit. Oh no, here we go.
Oh no. Save that for the game show.
Yep.
So, one last thing before we move on to the audience questions. We touched on it a little before. For a lot of people, it is that risk of failure, and I think Simba put it best in saying that the best thing you can do instead of saying, oh, I don't want to do this, I might fail, is try to recontextualize what failure means in the first place. Back when I used to coach, I would have players that would get upset after they lost a Counter-Strike game. And I told them from the get-go that there's no such thing as failing in a game as long as you spend that time actively learning and try to take something from your failure so that you can do better the next time. As long as you are continually trying to better yourself and you take lessons from when you faltered, then you are not failing.
Yeah, redefining success as improvement of skill rather than of winning a single game. And you can apply that to all domains.
Absolutely. So, awesome. I want to thank Ross, Ry, both of you for taking the time to speak with us. That was all the questions I had for you. We do have some questions from the audience, though, for any of y'all who have questions but were not confident enough, to actually post it. You can go ahead and do so now in the podcast text channel right above now, but we're going to go ahead and jump right in. Let's start with a lot of these we did actually end up discussing through the podcast, so if you wanted to hear that call out, cough, cough, Ray, sorry, you're probably not going to get it. So we'll start here with the pineapples question. And I think this is definitely a case-by-case basis, but I do want to hear what y'all have to say. He asks, when it comes to trying to get more confident, do you think it's better to take a slow approach or a fast one?
I'd say personally, take your time. There's no rush. If you have big goals, separate them into smaller goals. If you rush into something, you're more likely to fail, and if you fail, you're more likely to lose your confidence. Taking things day by day is the best course to, develop yourself.
I think do what you're comfortable with. For some people, that'll be. I think for some people, if you're too slow and too sort of methodical about it, you'll end up doubting yourself. If you look at a lot of the great sports people, they have a set sort of pre-shot routine, and it's not a case of overthinking it. It's just a case of getting up there, breathe a couple of times, and then do what you've done a million times before when you get on the live match court. Now, just to be clear, that interruptions during the podcast are not welcome. I was just trying to be nice. I failed. God damn.
It's on topic.
Now, if there's anything that you would like to discuss, you can put that in speaking voice. If there's anything relevant, we will bring it up. But I would like to, going back to the question, is it better to take a slow or a fast approach? I'm someone who has had to utilize both throughout his life. I think when you're looking for those grand changes that you want to, feel more confident looking someone in the eye, making that first contact. That was a slow approach for me. It took patience and actively seeking out those interactions. But I've also found historically that when I isolate, that the best thing I can do is just jump right in. It's why I joined several groups when I first got into college. I was afraid that I might end up isolating and I might not be confident enough, so I just signed up for as many things that looked interesting to me. It's why I'm staff at Furry Valley, because I knew that being a staff member would force me to be more social, interact with people that I wouldn't particularly interact with in the first place. It's always going to come down to who you are and what you're trying to face.
I would say, the speed at which you take things could be related to confidence. The more confident you are, the faster you could do something. If you feel as if, you're confident at doing, say, like Simba said, a sport, you might feel faster being able to do such a thing.
It can be a positive spiral, but it can also be a negative spiral if you allow it to be.
Alrighty, so let's move on to this question from Ricky. We discussed what exactly confidence means as far as opportunity and furthering oneself. He asks the question, in your experience, does having confidence in your ability make it easier to improve a skill?
100%, yeah. It's like, if you're at a job, you feel like you're doing that job well. If you're not confident enough to speak up and say, I've done this, I think I deserve this and that, you're not going to get there. For instance, when I was a level 3 admin, I went to Simba and confidently told him what I did. I was confident I had reached the level where I think I could improve. And Simba agreed. It's having that confidence to approach and do things, that you think you've done successfully. And being able to accept feedback and negative criticism.
I think the opposite, actually. In theory of learning, we have something called subconscious competence, and a good example of this is how most of us have typed for, say, 10 years, but we don't get any better at it. We're clearly very confident at it. We do it every day for many hours, or some of us will drive and have driven for many, many years, and we don't really get any better at it. And what's happened there is because we're confident enough with the action, our brain puts it into the subconscious completely, and while it's in subconscious mode, we're not actually improving at all at it. And so actually upping the difficulty to the point where we're not as confident forces it to come out of subconscious competence into conscious competence, and that is the state in which we learn. So it's actually important not to be entirely confident with something if you want to learn to get better at it.
I say that could
Success is all about subconscious competence, but improvement is about conscious competence.
I think
So what you're saying is if there's an obstacle in your way, say you're trying to learn how to drive better, the correct answer is to put on a blindfold.
yes.
No, the correct answer is to adjust it so it's slightly outside of your current skill level. So for it's much easier to demonstrate with typing. So say I type at, say, I don't know, 150 words per minute. What I want to do is consciously try and type at 160 words per minute. And I'll find that I can't quite do it. I'll be frustrated. But if I keep trying that and I'm consciously trying to do it for, say, a week and 2 weeks, eventually I'll just be able to. But if I'm just subconsciously doing what I'm always doing and I'm confident, I'm good at typing, whatever, I become complacent almost. It's all subconscious and I'm not going to improve. So it has to be slightly out of your reach. If it's too far out of your reach, you'll get demotivated and you won't improve.
I think
It has to be the sweet spot.
I think it would link to be confident, but don't be overconfident. It's if you're overconfident, you tend to overstep your grounds, and if you fail, you lose everything. You see yourself more negatively. It's like being confident, but not to the point where you're judging every small thing you do.
Being confident is good, but being complacent is not good. Overconfidence can lead to complacence for sure.
I'm pretty sure there was a study that was done which shows that people who were a lot more confident tended to do worse at things because of that. They thought too highly of themselves, thought everything they did was perfect when what they were doing was just mediocre.
No,
I think
you're referring to the Dunning-Kruger effect. That basically states that people who have a low competence at something, not confidence, believe that they are very good at something because they're too bad to notice the things that they can't do correctly. Whereas the people who are very good at an activity, have high competence, believe that they are worse than they actually are because they're good enough to notice all of the things that they can't do. That's not really confidence, that's competence.
Okay. I learned something.
Good. This is my sort of field that I do my research in, so I hope I can teach you something with it.
A lot of people ask this question, so I guess we can address this. A lot of folk they don't have the confidence to speak up in a public voice chat. That might be for a social anxiety. They might be like me and just absolutely hate their voice. What would you say is the best way for those sort of folk to build up confidence so they feel comfortable speaking with others?
I'd say start off small. Get a friend group who you can confidently talk to, and then sometimes maybe with your friend group join larger groups. If they're having a topic that you're interested in, with your friends try and chime in. If you're with people you're comfortable with, you're more likely to be involved with a discussion.
Just gonna put a small plug in here. If there is anyone here in this voice chat or indeed listening on Twitch or YouTube later in Furry Valley who has trouble with this sort of thing, we have a buddy system. Contact any admin and ask about the newbie system or the buddy system. It's a one-on-one pairing where we'll put an admin with you as a newbie or someone who's lacking in confidence or an experienced member, and they'll get to know you one-on-one, and there's opportunities through that to start talking to one person on voice chat, and then from there they can perhaps integrate with others. Much easier.
I want to point out something Ethanol said in speaking voice, which he says, start small, but like making a friend group. A group doesn't essentially mean a large amount of people. It can be 3 of you, 3 people you can confidently speak to. Just because it says group, it doesn't mean it's a large amount of people. It can just be the people you're comfortable around. Also, I just wanted to call out Ethanol.
Ethanol's fabulous. He deserves a call out every once in a while.
Yeah.
All right. Here's a question from Sumbles. Sumbles is here almost every week. We love having you. Does age equal confidence? And I think that's a question with no answer. It's always going to depend on the person.
I'd say when you're a child, you're a lot more confident. You're kind of carefree.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I used to jump off walls thinking I was invincible. It's now that I'm an adult, it's that's a big wall. I can feel my hip falling off that. It's
Yeah.
confidence can be really linked to your age. As you develop more, you kind of realize your responsibilities, and that can, inhibit your confidence.
A child is unafraid of judgment, and so a child doesn't fear getting things wrong because why would they? They're not used to being judged. But as we get older, as we go through school, and work and college and such, we get judged constantly, and how you succeed in life depends on how others perceive what you've worked on and how well you've done. Your social success can depend on that, and so people generally become less sort of naturally confident, I think, as they get older, because they've been judged so many times growing up. And then it's absolutely tragic. We should all embrace that sort of childliness that we're born with, that we can just be ourselves and have fun and embrace that sort of inner happiness that we've got. It's quite sad that we lose that. It's a societal construct that is not healthy at all.
What I've noticed is people who tend to be like quote unquote immature are a lot more confident, and it links back to as you go through life, there's a big push on you to be more mature as a person. It's like when you're older, you need to get a job, you need to be mature, and the people who tend to be immature, they go through life a lot happier. So it's finding that balance in between where you can still embrace the child within yourself, but not like run around screaming in corridors all day.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a fairly respected academic, but in the middle of town, I've chased pigeons before. I've sang on the public transport. I don't care, because at the end of the day, it comes back to if something makes you happy and it's not hurting anyone, why not?
Yeah, no, but that's stop committing mass arson.
Yeah, don't do that. Well, that hurts people, though,
Exactly.
right? Bullying the people, right?
For sure.
Your rights end where mine begin, and my right is to not be on fire.
Yeah, but you're too floofy. You'd go up in flames in seconds with that tail of yours.
All that static electricity might get someone killed.
Next week's podcast does fluff make you more flammable? A practical experiment.
Oh my god, well, I've got a main, fuck that.
Oh, you're
Try it at
perfect,
home.
Simba, yeah.
Nope. It's already orange.
It's gonna be bigger
Like
now.
Ventus before he went bald. He's not watching, is he? Oh shit.
He's not online on Twitch now.
Oh, thank god.
I'll send him the clip.
Oh no, you're gonna be in trouble,
Nah,
bless his heart.
Ooh. It's getting
Alrighty.
spicy.
Here's a rather specific question. I know it's one that a lot of people can relate to. Obviously, not any of us, as we sit up here public speaking. How do you build up the confidence to do public speaking? And that is something that even the most confident of people struggle with sometimes.
I'd say training, 100% training. If you're gonna do something that involves speaking in front of a large amount of people, get your friends to help. Again, this links back to having your friend group. You can speak confidently quite a lot in front of your friends, and they help you integrate within the stuff. Public speaking can be fun. It can also boost your confidence if you feel like you've done a good job. Get reassurance from the people around you. It's a blast. I love public speaking.
Especially if you're like Paco or I and you get involved in debate so you can feel superior to other people.
I mean,
Nothing
Paco,
is better than feeling better than someone else because of your words.
I mean, you say that sort of flippantly, Nova, but I think perhaps the most important thing for confidence in public speaking is to really know what you're talking about. So, as an example, when I give lectures to undergraduates, I know that even if I get it slightly wrong, they're not going to know any better. Like, they're sort of trusting what I'm saying as professor teaching them, and that's it. It's very different if I'm at a conference and I'm giving a talk to other people who are experts in my field. I'm far more conscious at that point because, yeah, I know my stuff, but they also know it, and I think knowing it better than your audience is a very good way to feel confident. So if you are going to be giving a talk on something, be it to your classmates in school or people at work, make sure you know the thing better than the people you're telling about the thing, because as much as anything, subconsciously that'll have a large impact on you. You'll be naturally a lot less fearful if you sort of know deep inside that even if you screw it up a little bit, you'll be fine. They're not going to call you on it.
I'm more confident than you.
Yeah, electron confidence itself. That's a meta confidence.
It's kind of a paradox. They both go back and forth with that.
I am beyond confident in my modesty. Alrighty, we have time for a couple more questions. We keep ending up back at the mental health question. Here's one from Canidro. And I guess the base of this question is, we discussed how the best way to gain your confidence is to go out, push your boundaries, experience things, and don't be afraid of failure. But for people who are clinically depressed, and as someone who has lived that, I do get that. How are you supposed to gain your confidence when you're not comfortable doing any of these things in the first place, if you don't have the energy to, pick up a new instrument and learn?
I'd say small steps. You can't just one day wake up and be like, I'm no longer depressed. You need to take those small steps. It could be as simple as making a small schedule. Like, I wake up at this time. When I wake up, I'm going to go brush my teeth. I'm going to have my morning coffee. Stuff like that. It's getting yourself into a routine that can allow you to feel as if you can do more. If you can competently, go through your day with a routine, who's to say, you can't add more stuff to your routine? Build yourself up over time. You can't, wake up and beat depression instantly. It's one of those things that does take time.
Absolutely. I think that's an awesome point, especially as someone who has faced pretty severe depression in the past. It's even little things like brushing your teeth, taking a shower, eating the correct amount of times a day. It feels like it takes too much energy, and it's something that you're likely to just push off for another time. Forcing yourself to do... Sorry, go on.
Caring for yourself is the most important thing. If you're in a state where, you don't feel like you can, do not neglect your personal hygiene, eating, anything. That will make you worse. That will cause you to spiral.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot. Like, I know for the longest time I was locked into this routine where I would only eat once a day. I think I'm still in that. And it's weird. You'd think eating once a day would, like, burn fat. No, it puts your body in survival mode, and you get used to it, and it's not healthy because you end up malnourished.
If your body's forcing you to survive, there's something wrong.
Yeah. That's all I can say, yeah.
I think you're quoting R. Kelly there.
I mean, isn't everything an R. Kelly quote?
Oh, God.
It is now.
That was an R.
Okay,
Kelly.
I gotta go. No.
Alrighty. I'm going to say we have time for one or two more questions. We're reaching that 1 hour mark. Jade asks, who was the biggest influence, or I guess what, if there was no who, was the biggest influence in helping build your confidence? Ross, who would you say?
For me, honestly, I've had a lot of people. I've had real-life friends, online friends. Like, my real-life friends helped me build confidence to do things that were, like, I had to do with my hands. But the online friends helped me, like, get out of that dark spot in my head. Like, for example, me and my singing. I was like, having a really hard time singing, like, just letting myself go, like, in one of the voice chats in this server, and I ended up singing with forgot her name, started with an R, but basically she helped me build my confidence like a lot with that, and this was rather recent. Sadly, I haven't heard from her since, but yeah, I've just been worried, but gotta keep yourself up. You gotta, mediate yourself.
And who would you say, Ry, who or what has been your biggest influence in building your confidence?
So I have two answers for this. Would you like the cheesy answer or the sad answer?
You know what? I will take either or both.
Okay, I'll go for both. So the sad answer is a big influence through my life was my great-grandma. I grew up kind of looking up to her. She was basically my life's role model. She gave me a lot of good life lessons. She taught me not to waste time hating people and, just, focus on the people I love. She taught me hate just spirals, into wasted time. She took the time to, look after me. I used to get bullied. She'd always make sure I was okay. My great-grandma, she was always there for me, no matter what. And when she passed away 2 years ago, what she told me through life kind of hit me harder than ever. And because of her, I managed to push myself more and, get help, essentially. And the cheesy answer is someone with an FV. One of our admins, Apollo, when I was going through a hard time, he stuck by my side. He basically gave me the push to seek help with that. And since then, he's stuck by my side. He's helped me. He's given me advice, guidance. He's done a lot, for me. And now we both support each other quite well. He mentors me. I give him emotional support. He's really helped me develop as a person as a whole.
Very sweet.
Okay, Mr. Simba.
For me, the person who was the biggest influence on my confidence, or when I was younger, I had really bad depression, abuse at home and such. I went to university and I was in a really bad place for many years, being for about 12 and 20. And my mum, this was back in the days of Skype, she used to Skype call me, and before my finals for my masters, I think it was, and she gave me a call around my birthday, and she said something like, she used my real name, and then she said, "I'll always love you no matter what happens, no matter what you do." And that was nice, and she'd said it before, but it felt like I believed it, and I never believed it before. So I think that after that, I weird, but I just seemed to, my depression faded after that. I don't want to make light of the fact that I was on meds for this shit for 15 years. It wasn't a small thing, but that yeah.
It's the
That was
small
big.
things, like the small things from the people you love most that makes the most impact.
Yeah. I miss my mum.
Kind
Well, she listened to the podcast, so hi, Mum, I love you. I hope I see you again soon.
Hi, Simba's mom.
Kind gestures stick with you forever. Small little presents, everything. It'll always stay with you.
Personal things, yep.
For
Not
me-
something you buy from the store, something you make, something you say, something you
Yeah.
do, something that only you can, if you know what I mean.
Ever since I was 10, I've kept all my birthday cards from my family because
Aww.
it's memories. It's
Yeah.
You can also
Yeah.
look back at the happy times when you're having a rough time.
Yeah.
I take
Yeah.
the money out and throw them away.
You're a bad person.
My mum, I'm a hoarder, I've got OCDs, and my mum makes me throw this shit away. I would have kept them all otherwise.
Something else that helped me
Oh,
build my
boy.
confidence was so I used to volunteer for a mental health service, and I would come in once a week, and I'd basically be in the kitchen for hours, like making food for everyone. And one day, a bunch of it was like a parent-child kind of thing where they were all together discussing stuff, like how to support your children, and it was Pancake Day. So I stood in the kitchen for about 2 hours making pancakes for about 20 children. And I remember at the end of that day, they all came to me with little thank you cards. I had about 20 little cards saying thank you. They didn't even know my name; they just called me Pancake Man. And I still have those somewhere. And it's stuff.
Right, hold on, renaming you on Discord.
No.
I was just in the
Pancake.
process of
Here we
doing
go.
Pancake Man, there we go.
Here
Why
we
am I
go.
turning into different savory
Hey.
products like Pancake Man?
Well, so
Rival?
Alexi can eat you.
Alexi didn't need any prompting. Let's be
No,
real here.
Bread boy.
Lexi eats whoever he wants.
Alrighty.
the Lord's boy.
I think we have time for one more question tonight. This one coming from the only person to imply that they might actually be confident. Good on you, Ethanol. Is there a way to act extremely confident without coming off as arrogant?
Yes, they're
Yeah.
different things.
No.
So
Totally.
here's the difference. Confidence is about you. Arrogance is about other people. So when you're confident, you believe that you will succeed. When you're arrogant, you believe that you're better than the person next to you. So they're completely different. As long as when you're framing, you're mentioning specifically about CSGO, say sometimes you feel like you come across as arrogant, don't phrase it as that I'm the best player on our team and I'm going to top frag and carry you and kill all the other team. Phrase it as, oh look, I'm really confident in my abilities, I'm feeling good about how I'm playing today, I'm focused. You notice it's I language rather than you language. That's the key difference.
I think for
Yeah,
CSGO, you cannot be confident. You can only be arrogant. Your confidence comes from arrogance in CSGO.
Yeah,
It's that
like,
type of game. The more toxic you are, the better you are.
it's funny because Valve even knows that people are like that. One of the tool tips in the game is like, hey, maybe your enemy is just having a good day.
They've actually
Gives you that little boost.
They've implemented a system in CSGO now. If you're toxic while playing the game, you'll get a rating for it, and you'll be put in games with other toxic people.
No
No, that's
shit.
old.
Oh wait,
Oh,
I'm
it's
sure
the
they
trust
do that
factor.
for
in
League
it.
of Legends as well.
I think if like they had that in League symbol would be just with a bunch of people screaming racial slurs for the entire.
I mean, I'm with
game.
Paco, aren't I?
Exactly.
That
Paco's one of the
exists in
people
League
who-
too.
Yeah.
League does have a troll hell.
League doesn't need
Right.
that because everyone is everyone's toxic. on
Yeah, I'm sure of that. But I think the people who are toxic in these sorts, I mean, it's slightly tangential, but the people who are toxic on these games are actually the people who improve, because if the game means enough to them that they get frustrated and pissed off when it's not going well, they have motivation to do something about that. And so they tend to improve better than someone, more quickly than someone who is just sort of comfortable whatever happens, just like, oh well, I had fun playing. I'm a competitive person, I hate that sort of shit.
I mean,
but
in the case of
you know,
CS:GO,
how can you have fun? You lost.
in the case of CS:GO, if you keep failing and get angry, chances are you're going to become a gambling addict.
Oof.
Ah,
I went through that phase harder than anyone I know.
Honestly, I picked up
Oof.
CS:GO, bought a bunch of keys, and got like a £70 knife in like my third case. So I was like, oh.
You like this game now?
Yeah, and then I sold it all and gambled more and lost everything.
Here I am on Steam with 10
Welcome to
cents.
life.
Yeah, I have a gambling addiction.
Same.
Gotta put that in my
Gamble
bio.
all that floof.
I bet one hair. That's all I have left. I'm from the northeast of England.
It's battle scarred hair.
It's a bit singed.
I got that 90% blue marble.
What, hair? Are you Ninja?
Yeah.
Oh my god, Ninja, I'm a fan.
Damn.
Alrighty. We've hit that 1 hour mark. Real quick, I do want to address Riori, who just came in with their statement. And we did discuss this earlier. They said, I don't have a lot of confidence talking with people. I'm afraid that I'm disturbing their time or annoying them. Again, if you're not confident, you need to do things for yourself. Be willing to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And let's be honest here. If you're consistently annoying someone or disturbing them, then eventually they're going to cut you off. Just do what you want to do for you, my man. It's the only way you're ever going to improve. And for someone who is learning English by themselves, that was beyond comprehensible. So good job.
Wait, they are?
Yeah. Also, Riori, you are buddies with my partner, Blaze Snap. So I'll have a word with him and make sure he takes care of you.
Blaze is lovely.
Aw.
Yeah, Blaze is not confident. Blaze is competent. Very different.
Wow.
Extremely,
not grammar
extremely.
lessons, but okay, English.
Well, we gotta teach you English. Look, Riori is better at English than you are.
I mean,
He's not even from Europe. Never mind England.
Props to Riori, by the way. That's some hard stuff to do.
Yeah.
crying.
Where are you from, Riori, by the way? If you're still there.
Tell us!
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Where are you from?
I'm from Indonesia. It's
Oh, cool.
in Asia.
Cool.
It's better in English than me.
Yep,
Can I
he's
blame it on
way
my
better.
kind of like northern origins?
Blame it on your camel mother.
I mean, I live near Scotland. I live near Scotland. Like they,
You know, live near Scotland, well, they can't talk English at all. I can't blame you, can't talk like that,
yeah,
but
like I'm the closest thing to Scottish, and you know.
closest thing to Scottish, I tell you, 11. Take you upstairs and get some of your done.
Kilogram of feathers. Kilogram of steel.
Oh, for fuck's
Alright.
sake.
Ray, would you like to stroke my coat?
I think my favorite thing about Scottish people is like the voice activated elevator. It's like, what for?
Yeah.
11.
Anyway.
Do you think we
Oh
can
my
move this
God.
podcast back to English?
I think
I don't
we
speak
should,
whatever
like-
that is. Rye, Ross, I really appreciate y'all being here tonight. You gave us a lot to think about. It was wonderful hearing your insight. We'd love to have you on again.
I'd love to be on again.
Oh yeah, me too, man.
You're on every week.
Which happens every
Essentially,
other
yeah.
week.
Ain't that
It's only
something?
because we can't find any other guests.
Hey, I bring bad comedy, okay?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, dude. I'm unemployed. Get me anytime.
It's great to know. If we ever need someone last moment, I'll make sure to hit you up.
What about
So-
Alright.
Yeah, thanks for coming out tonight. Simba, of course, thanks for joining me. I'm sure you're beyond busy with this new set of trialists.
I'm asleep.
I
I'm
think-
just here in my dreams.
I think this
Oh, I
is like a
feel
nice
that.
break for Simba. He gets to make fun of me for an hour. Like,
Only an hour, god damn.
you can make fun of me after if you want, Simba.
Let me tell you, any trialists here who are streaming admin trialists, tell me all the stupid shit he does, because I'll rip on him for you.
What? Right, Kanidra.
What Pancake Man does.
Is Kanidra here? Kanidra, oh, he's gone. I was going to tell him not to listen to you. FNL already does make fun of me, so.
Good lad, he's learning.
I'm neutral.
So
you won't be for much longer.
Ugh.
that wraps up this podcast. Our next podcast is going to be the same time, same place at Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Next week's topics is going to be Finding Your Paws, a guide to growing up. If you want to speak on this subject next week and did not already react to the announcement poll, please send me, Nova, a DM. And I know you've all been itching for a new speaking event since our last debate, so we're super excited to tell you about our newest project, the Furry Valley Game Show. Every Thursday at 7 p.m. EST, we'll be hosting a group of panelists for a lighthearted comedy show, poking fun at one another and otherwise just having fun. We'd love to see you come out. Stay tuned for more information.
And if you haven't already had enough of me, you get to see me again on that.
Oh god.
Yeah, you're
No
kind of
way.
stuck with Rye.
Yeah, I'm hosting it.
Ooh.
I also want to give a big round of applause for the streaming team for once again streaming this for us on Twitch. Y'all do a great job. Rye is a slacker and is instead sitting here with us instead of leading that.
What do you mean?
so-
I'm like running the stream now. Fuck you.
Wow.
Strong language from a little cat.
I
Wow.
was gonna say I'm gonna tell Apollo you said that.
Oh,
No,
it's getting
please.
personal.
Oh, the more you
World
cry,
star.
the more he'll enjoy it.
World star.
There we go, bad kitten.
Wait, what? Fuck.
Well done, well done.
No.
Okay.
Also, in the podcast text chat, I've sent a link to ranking system. Please go and type !attend podcast to get your XP for coming to tonight's event.
Absolutely. All of you deserve it for coming out to listen. Once again, thanks for coming, everyone. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I promise you I did. This is always the highlight of my week. Hi, White. Oh, whoa.
Yeah, hi, White.
It's the highway.
No,
No
this is
return
before we
into
talk.
Kenny.
How I'm your boy.
And I noticed we've got a few brand new people here as well today, so it's always lovely to see people who are new to FB taking part in community events. So yeah, I hope you had fun and do choose to come and join us again next
I
time.
want to